I was standing in my own nursery, staring at a pile of empty wine bottles someone had shoved under the crib. My hands were shaking as I pulled them out one by one, 6 bottles still reeking of alcohol, hidden where my 6-month-old daughter sleeps. And in that moment, my blood ran cold. Because I don't drink. I haven't touched alcohol in 3 years. Someone had planted these here, and I knew exactly who. I'm going to tell you how my own mother-in-law tried to destroy my life to steal my child, and how I made absolutely sure she could never do it again. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this ends. My name is Claire, and 2 years ago, I married the man I thought was my soulmate. Daniel was kind, supportive, and when I got pregnant just 4 months after our wedding, he was over the moon. His mother, Patricia, seemed thrilled too. She'd lost her husband 5 years earlier, and Daniel was her only child. When we told her about the baby, she cried happy tears and immediately started buying tiny outfits and nursery decorations. I should have seen the warning signs then. She didn't ask what we needed, she just bought what she wanted. A crib we hadn't picked, a rocker in her favorite color, not mine. A baby monitor system she insisted on installing herself. But I brushed it off. She was excited to be a grandmother. It felt petty to complain. When our daughter Emma was born, Patricia was at the hospital within an hour. She held Emma before I'd even gotten out of recovery. Daniel thought it was sweet. I felt something twist in my stomach, but I was exhausted and hormonal, so I let it go. The first few months were a blur of sleepless nights and endless feedings. Patricia started showing up unannounced, sometimes 3-4 times a week. She'd let herself in with the spare key Daniel had given her and just take Emma from her bassinet while I was napping. I'd wake up to find her in the living room, cooing at my baby, telling her Grandma's here now, everything's okay. When I asked Daniel to talk to her about calling first, he said I was being oversensitive. She's just excited, Claire. She's lonely. Let her enjoy her granddaughter. So I swallowed my discomfort and tried to be grateful for the help. But that wasn't even the worst part. Patricia started making little comments about how tired I looked, how the house was a mess, how Emma seemed fussier when I held her versus when she did. She'd say things to Daniel like, "Your mother managed 3 kids and kept an immaculate home. I'm sure Claire's doing her best, though." Always with a smile, always just concerned enough that Daniel would defend her if I pushed back. Then the incidents started. I'd put Emma down for a nap, and Patricia would wake her up to spend time with her. I'd make a bottle at the exact temperature the pediatrician recommended, and she'd dump it out saying it was too cold. She started keeping a bag of supplies at our house, diapers, formula, clothes, telling Daniel it was in case Claire forgets something important. 3 months ago, things escalated. I came home from a postpartum checkup to find Patricia had rearranged our entire kitchen. She told Daniel she did it because Claire couldn't find anything, and it was stressing the baby out. When I got upset, she hugged me and said, "I know you're overwhelmed, sweetheart. Postpartum emotions are so hard. I just wanted to help." That's when I realized she was building a narrative. Every helpful gesture, every concerned comment, every time she stepped in to fix something I was supposedly doing wrong, she was painting a picture of me as an incompetent, unstable mother. I started keeping a journal, documenting every visit, every comment, every boundary she crossed. Daniel thought I was being paranoid. "She's my mother, Claire. She loves us. She loves Emma. You're reading into things." 2 weeks ago, Patricia asked if she could take Emma overnight. Just one night to give us a break. Daniel thought it was a great idea. I said absolutely not. Emma was only 6 months old and exclusively breastfed. Patricia's face went cold. She turned to Daniel and said, "See? This is what I've been worried about. She's too attached. It's not healthy." And then she said something I will never forget. She pulled Daniel aside, not far enough that I couldn't hear, and whispered, "I think Claire might be struggling more than she's letting on. Has she been acting strange? Emotional?" My friend's daughter had postpartum psychosis. It starts like this. I felt my whole body go numb. She wasn't just undermining me anymore. She was planting the idea that I was mentally ill. Daniel reassured her I was fine, but I saw the seed of doubt in his eyes. That night, I barely slept. I knew something was coming. I just didn't know what. Then came last Tuesday, the day that changed everything. I'd taken Emma to a mommy and me class at the library. When we got home, Patricia's car was in the driveway. Daniel had given her a key months ago, and she'd let herself in again. She was in the kitchen, and when I walked in with Emma, she smiled that sugary smile and said she just stopped by to drop off a casserole. After she left, I went to put Emma down for her nap. That's when I saw them. The wine bottles. 6 empty bottles of red wine shoved behind the crib skirt, reeking and obvious. I stood there, frozen. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. I pulled them out with shaking hands and lined them up on the floor. I don't drink. I haven't had a single drop of alcohol since I found out I was pregnant. Daniel knows this. Anyone who knows me knows this. But if someone wanted to make me look like a secret alcoholic hiding bottles from my husband, this would do it. I grabbed my phone and took pictures. Then I called Daniel at work. He didn't answer. I called again. Nothing. I texted, "Emergency, come home now." While I waited, I searched the house. I found more. A half-empty vodka bottle in the back of my bathroom cabinet behind tampons. An empty pill bottle with my name on it, Xanax, prescribed for postpartum anxiety, but I'd never taken Xanax. I'd never even been prescribed it. Stay with me, because what happened next is the part that still keeps me up at night. Daniel finally came home. I showed him everything. I was crying, shaking, barely coherent. And he looked at me like he didn't know who I was. He asked if I'd been drinking, if I'd been taking pills and not telling him. I screamed that it wasn't me, that someone planted this, that his mother was trying to frame me. And he said, "Claire, listen to yourself. You sound paranoid." That's when Patricia called him. Perfect timing. She said she needed to talk to him about something important, something about Emma's safety. Could he come over? Alone? I felt everything click into place. She'd planted the evidence knowing I'd find it, knowing I'd react exactly like this. Frantic, desperate, defensive. She was going to tell Daniel I was unraveling, that she was worried, that maybe Emma wasn't safe with me. I looked at my husband and saw he was actually considering going to her. In that moment, I realized if I didn't act right now, I was going to lose my child. I told Daniel he could go to his mother's, but first, we were going to the police station together. If he thought I was paranoid and unstable, fine. We'd let professionals determine if a crime had been committed. I grabbed the bottles, the fake pill bottle, my phone with the photos, and my journal documenting months of Patricia's behavior. Daniel tried to talk me down, but I was done being calm. I told him if he didn't come with me right now, I was taking Emma and going to my parents' house, and he could explain to a judge why his mother had unlimited access to our home and his wife didn't feel safe there. We went to the police. The officer who took my statement was a woman in her 50s. She listened to everything, looked at the evidence, and asked one question. "Does your mother-in-law have a key to your home?" When I said yes, she nodded slowly and said, "Ma'am, I've seen this before. Let me make some calls." Turns out, planting evidence to build a case for grandparents' rights is more common than you'd think. And in our state, attempted fraud related to custody interference is a crime. They contacted Patricia and asked her to come in for questioning. She showed up with a lawyer and a flash drive. On that flash drive, photos she'd taken over months. Me in my bathrobe at 2 p.m., the dishes in the sink, Emma crying while I looked exhausted. She'd been documenting me the same way I'd been documenting her, except her narrative was that I was a negligent mother and she was a concerned grandmother. She'd also drafted a custody petition. It was saved on the flash drive, ready to file. She was going to claim Daniel was working too much to notice and that I was suffering from severe postpartum depression and alcoholism. She had the fake prescription bottle. She had the planted wine bottles. She had months of photos and her testimony. If I hadn't found those bottles when I did, if I'd waited even a day or two longer, she would have called CPS herself. They would have shown up, searched the house, found the evidence she'd planted, and Emma would have been removed from my care while the investigation played out. And most people told me what I did next was too harsh, but I don't care. I pressed charges for breaking and entering, for filing a false report, because she'd already called CPS that morning, minutes before I found the bottles, and for attempted fraud. I got a restraining order. She's not allowed within 500 feet of me or Emma. Daniel had to make a choice. At first, he defended her. Said she was just scared for Emma, that she went too far but didn't mean real harm. I told him if he couldn't see that his mother had tried to systematically destroy me to steal our child, then he could pack a bag and go stay with her. It took him 3 days. 3 days of seeing the evidence laid out, of talking to the police, of reading my journal entries where I'd begged him to set boundaries months ago. 3 days of his mother calling him crying, playing the victim, and finally slipping up and saying I would have been a better mother to that baby than she ever could be. He heard it, really heard it, and something broke in him. He cut contact with Patricia. We're in marriage counseling now, working through the fact that he didn't believe me until the evidence was overwhelming. Some days I don't know if we'll make it, but he changed the locks, canceled her key, and stood beside me in court. Patricia pleaded guilty to avoid jail time. She's on probation. The restraining order is permanent. She will never be alone with my daughter, ever. I still have nightmares about what would have happened if I hadn't trusted my gut. If I'd let Daniel convince me I was overreacting just one more time. If I hadn't taken those photos. Emma just turned 8 months old. She's happy, healthy, and safe. Some of Daniel's family thinks I'm cruel for keeping her from her grandmother, but I sleep soundly at night knowing my daughter will never be weaponized in someone else's twisted need for control. If you're in a situation where someone is undermining you, making you question your reality, building a narrative that you're unstable, trust yourself. Document everything. And don't wait for permission to protect yourself or your children. You are not paranoid. You are not overreacting. And you are not alone. If this story resonated with you, subscribe. I share a new story every single week, and drop a comment below if you've ever been betrayed by someone you completely trusted. You are not alone, and you will get through this.